take a look at what we need to cut for our slip and zip wallet. This is the small size that we're making here, and for this we need to cut 5 card slot B pieces. I've chosen to use a different cork for some of the slots, and that's mainly so that you can see what I'm doing better, but you can do this however you want, whether you want to use it all the one colour or change it around a bit. We need to cut 2 tab pieces, and you need to punch a hole, or if you've used a cutting machine that will do that for you. We need to cut 1 card slot A piece. We need to cut 1 ID pocket and cut out that centre piece like that, and a clear ID window out of clear vinyl. We need to cut 1 Welt piece, a panel A, 1 of. Panel B we need to cut 1, and we also need to cut a Decaville light support. Now these are put directly onto the right side of the cork and onto the right side, non-sticky side of the Decaville light. If you cut out differently, remember to flip your pattern piece over. So if you're cutting that, if you're drawing this on the wrong side, you need to cut it or draw it with the pattern piece flipped so that that hole is over on the left when you're looking at the right side. So you need to reverse your Decaville to match. And we need to cut 2 panel C. As you can see, I've used a different cork there. A zipper pocket backing, cut 1. We need some things to make the wallet. We also need a zipper, and this zipper is a number 3 zipper. It's got the smaller teeth, and the reason I use that is it just looks out of scale using the number 5 in this size wallet in this little tiny, little small pocket. A number 5 just looks too bulky, so I suggest a number 3. And here we have a cam snap, so you'll need to have one of those, and it comes with 4 pieces, those little button ends, and this one here's the female piece and that's the male piece. And as you can see on this one, the female piece goes into the tab, that's the one with the indentation, and the male piece that goes into the exterior of your wallet, and that's the bit with the sticky out bit. So you just need to make sure you get that orientated the right way, and I always double check before I go setting the snap. So that's what we need to cut, and that's what we need in terms of notions and hardware, which is not much. And we will need some glue. I'm trialing this Fabri-Tac from Beacon. That's highly recommended by a lot of people, but here in Australia it's not that easy to find, and it's very pricey. But I have tried it on a couple of tests, and boy, it does a good job. So yeah, I do really like it, but yes, it's very expensive. And for the pieces where I need to glue all over, this is a bit thick, so I use the Eco Weld, and I've put it into a smaller container because I bought a great big one and it's not practical to muck around with the big one, so I just put a bit in the smaller container, and I use a brush for spreading that one all over the pieces, and I just use a stick to spread the Fabri-Tac. You'll need a marker. This is just an air erasing marker. I have a lighter handy because the cork often has little fuzzy bits on the ends, so I just seal those off with the lighter, and I also seal the ends of the zipper tape so that they don't fray. And this is a paddle pop stick which I use to spread the Fabri-Tac. I have some snips for snipping my threads as I go because I don't like to have a lot of threads poking out. You can also seal them off with a lighter if you wish. So that's it. That's what we need to make our small slip and zip wallet. So let's get started. Okay, so if you're going to do edge coating, now before you construct your wallet, it might be a good idea to edge coat or just colour those edges around your zipper pocket opening and the welt opening there. and also do the top edges of your card slots. I haven't needed to do that because it's already the same colour, so it looks fine as it is, but the coloured ones here I have edge coated the top there. I use a skewer to do it and just rub it along the edge, and the top edge of your ID pocket, and also the top edge of your card slot A piece. I don't do the other sides. The outside edges will get done when I do the wallet at the end. And the top edge of your Welt. And with your panel C's, you'll have, because they're on your wallet, like one on each side like that, and your cards will be going this way and facing this way. You need to do this inner edge, and when you're top stitching, make sure you're top stitching the inner edge where you have edge coated, so that you are doing the right edge. Otherwise, no point edge coating the outer edge or something like that and then top stitching down that side. That doesn't work. So that's just a thought. Okay, so now we just need to glue our tab pieces together. So pop them over. A little bit of black is where I scorched with my lighter by holding it there too long. So I'm just going to use a little bit of this fabric tack. For this glue I only need to apply it to one side. So if you're using a glue that needs to be both sides, then you need to do both sides. This is only a small area, so it's fine to do that. I don't need to use the Eco World here. I just need to line up the raw edges and the hole. Get that even before the glue dries. And this fabric tack does dry a lot quicker than anything else I've used. So there, so we'll just set that aside. You can put a weight on that if you like, just to hold it down. And we need to retrieve our ID pocket and our clear vinyl window. And for this, oh yes, some double-sided tape. That's another thing that you'll need. I use a little bit of double-sided tape, and I just run that around the edge of my ID pocket window. Let's come away from the backing there. Like that. Doesn't need to be the whole length because it's just there to hold it while you stitch. So it doesn't slip out of place. You can glue this if you want, but I find double-sided tape a little bit less messy. And grab that and center it down over the tape. And press to hold. Just make sure you haven't got your window skewed, and that looks a little skewed. And that's better. Like that. And now we're going to go over to the sewing machine and we're going to top stitch this top edge. And we're going to top stitch all the way around the inner window there, and we're also going to top stitch, and this is optional, you don't have to top stitch these top edges if you don't want to, but I find most people do seem to prefer to have them top stitched. So all the top edges of your card slot B pieces, the top edge of your Welt, the top edge where you have coloured or edge coated, if you are edge coating, of your card slot A, and your panel C pieces. We need to top stitch down the two inner sides. So let's top stitch around our ID pocket window. I'm just going to stitch about 3mm 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the window. Stitch length is 3.1. Now you can either back tack here to secure your threads, or you can pull them to the back and knot off. And if I was to do that, I would do it on the edge away from the opening. In this case, I've edge coated the edge that will be the opening. I'm just back tacking because I'm too lazy to pull threads back and knot them off. Now we need to do our card slot A, and I've edge coated, so I'm looking for the top edge, which I've edge coated. Like that. Our card slots B. Two panel C pieces, our welt, and our tab. So retrieving your two panel C pieces, now we have a left and a right because we've top stitched the two centres. Now if you have a different fabric for one or the other, then you're going to work with the left one, because otherwise it won't matter. You can reverse them, doesn't matter. But if they're different, then you need to work with the left one. Now we're not going to apply any glue at this stage. We're just going to start by clipping this ID pocket window into place. I'm just going to hold it there while we work out where our slots go. Now we're going to grab a card slot and we're just going to slide that in. Just add a clip to hold this down. Like that. And now slide in your card slot B piece. Add a clip at the side. This is going to hold it in place when we stitch in the next spot. Next steps, we don't need to use glue for this when we have access to either side. We can just do it this way with clips. Like that. Now all we need to do now is we're going to remove this, and we can go over to the sewing machine, stitch that down. Oops, that's not clipped on properly. Stitch that down, then flip it out of the road and stitch the next one down. But before I do that, I'm just going to get this one ready so that we can do it at the machine at the same time. So we grab the card slot A piece. I'm just going to clip that there to hold it in place. Now we need some card slot pieces. We're going to add this one next. Slide it in until those edges butt up. Everything lines up good. And clip it to hold. Grab your next card slot. Slide it in. Butt it up. And clip. Next one. Just need to make sure these side edges are even too. Clip. Now we'll take off this and we'll go over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch these ones and these ones all down. So now we're going to stitch the card slot B in place. Stitch length 3.1, I use that throughout. Doesn't matter what colour thread you're using if you're liking to match your thread, because these are hidden inside, and doesn't matter if you go over it like I have there, it won't matter, no one is going to see it. Move the clip, do the next one. Like that. Now we'll do the second one. Like that. Okay, so now that we have done that, we've done the top stitching, we've attached our card slots into place. Now what we're going to do is glue these little side edges down. I'm just going to flip them over and do it from this side. Just need a little bit of glue on the ends, and I just do it with the nozzle. I don't need to do it with the stick on this one. This just gives me a nice little bit of glue. I like the nozzle on this bottle. Set them down. Just add a couple of clips to hold until it sets. Like that. Grabbing your ID pocket. Now around the three sides that do not have any top stitching, we need to run a narrow bead of glue. Either spread it with the nozzle or with your stick, if you have one. We want to get it right to the edges so that it's sealed well. I'm going to use the stick on this one just to get that nice. Like that. Now with the top stitched edge facing the card slots, we'll place that down, line it up nicely, and add some clips to hold. I don't bother putting anything between the clips and this because it's not there for very long. Doesn't really mark, and those marks come out if there is a little one. And I try and line up those clips to be about where the stitching line will be. So if there is a mark, you won't see it anyway. Now retrieve the other piece, and now we're going to do the same. Just going to flip that over and do those little side edges. Push that down, so add a clip on each little one to hold it. Now retrieve card slot A and run it around the three untop stitched sides. Now you don't want the glue to be any wider than 3mm 1/8 of an inch, or you might have some issues getting your card in place. So it won't slide all the way. And line up those side edges. And get the edges even. And clip to hold. Like that. Okay, so now that that has had a chance to dry, we'll just remove these clips. Like that. Now retrieve panel A, and I'm just going to put that aside. Now what we're going to do is we're going to glue this down there on that side and this one down here on this side. So we need to run some glue around the 3 untop stitched sides. Now this will become your slip pocket behind here. If you do not like the backing of your cork or vinyl or whatever you have, you can apply heat transfer vinyl to the backs of these to give it a nicer finish if you wish. But I don't think anyone is ever going to see inside this pocket, so I'm not really concerned. So the top stitching goes to the inner side. Line up those raw edges and add some clips to hold. Now we'll do the same with the other card slots panel. Now with the top stitching facing your other card bank, you need to stick that down. Match those raw edges and clip to hold. And we'll just leave that to dry. Okay, so now retrieving your panel B piece with the cutout, we're going to flip it over to that side there, and we're going to grab some double-sided tape and running it across the top about 6 millimeters, 1/4 of an inch out from the opening on each side, like that. And on the bottom side we're going to actually measure 6 millimeters, 1/4 of an inch from the opening there and make a mark. Now we're going to run some double-sided tape from about 6 millimeters, 1/4 of an inch out from the opening on that side over to the mark, like that. Now retrieving the zipper tape, we're going to peel off the top and place that so that this tape is out there about 6 millimeters, 1/4 of an inch from the opening, like that. And then just double check that that's centered properly, and probably could go a little more higher. Just going to move that, flip it back over and check. Yes, quite happy with that, so I'm going to press that down, flip back over. Now here we're going to peel back this tape to about 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters from the end, and then chop it off, chop the backing off, like that. Doesn't have to be exact. And I'll just move this zipper back in about halfway along the opening, and we're going to press this side down like that. Just double check that that's right on this other side. Press that firmly. And now over on this side, now we're going to peel back that tape backing and bring this along, and we're going to bend that over so it's just the teeth sitting on that 6 millimeter, 1/4 of an inch mark. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some glue under there just to hold that in place. Like that. And grab a clip. If you don't have a clip, you might have to hold it with your finger till it sets. If you're using a quick drying glue, it shouldn't take long. Now we're just going to trim off some of this excess zipper tape, so we don't need that much of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some glue on the back of that because I want to stick that firmly down. Probably put a bit too much there, but I need to press that down. I'll add a clip. I'm just going to let that set. Okay, so now that has dried, we need to retrieve our welt, turn it wrong side up, and what we're going to do is we're going to put some glue down this side and then we're going to stick it down there. Going to place that down on there so that the top edges are even and the side edges are even, and you can either clip this or add a weight to hold. I'm just going to add some clips. It's a bit of a squeeze there next to the zipper tape. And I'm just going to let that dry. Okay, so now that that has dried, just take off these clips. Now what we're going to do, flip that over. We're going to top stitch from 3mm 1/8 of an inch below that welt opening all the way up to there, and then we're going to pivot 3mm 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the zipper opening, and we're going to pivot the machine or pivot the panel A while it's in the machine, locked and held down with our needle in the work, and we're going to bend this welt back out of the way and pull it tight so it's up against the needle, because we don't want to catch this top of the welt in our stitching. And with that back out of the way, we will stitch down there around here and back up to this point here, 3mm 1/8 of an inch from the opening of the window out this way, and it's all going to be 3mm 1/8 of an inch from the edges. Now you may need to use a zipper foot for this, but I find that I can just use my normal foot. And I'm going to start 3mm 1/8 of an inch from the back from the edge of that zipper window, 3mm 1/8 of an inch in from the side. I'm going to stitch up and then pivot. I'm just going to lock my stitches in. I'm going to pivot, and while I'm pivoted, I'm just going to pull that back like so. Now with that welt back pulled back so it's well away from my foot, my stitching, going to top stitch down here. I'm going to have to move that out of the way when I get to it. Stitching across this bottom, and I'm going to back tack here just to make it extra secure. And I'm going to top stitch back down this side. Moving the zipper out of the road to within 3mm, and I'm not going to stitch down that side, which is what I nearly did, and just back tack to lock that off, or pull your threads to the back like that. So now that that has been done, we need to grab our marking pen, and we're going to make a mark 6mm 1/4 of an inch out from the welt opening. And draw a line down there. That. And now we're going to apply some glue to the other side of the welt. This time it's on the right side. And it can be up to 6mm in width, but I tend to leave it a little back from there. And now bend this around, and we're going to stick that down on that line and make sure those top edges are even, and press and clip. Now we're just going to let that dry. So now that that has had a chance to dry, we're just going to take the clips off, and we're going to go back over to the sewing machine, and we're going to start from down here in this little corner and at our previous top stitching, stitch across and then up to meet up with our other end of our top stitching. So now we're going to start at our previous top stitching point. Just trying to get my needle into the right spot. Stitching across. Just going to lock my stitches in. Stitch up the other side. And finishing up at the other end of the top stitching, like that. So now that we have done that, we're just going to trim this zipper tape back to about 6mm, 1/4 of an inch from the outer edge, like so. And retrieving your zipper pocket backing, now we're going to put 1 cm, 3/8 of an inch of glue around the 3 sides. I did it already and I did it on the wrong side. You need to put it on the right side, because this will become the backing inside your coin little pocket. And it's nicer to look at this side of the cork than the other, and you won't ever see the other side. So that's why I'm not really concerned that it's a mess at the moment. Just smear that up so it gets nice to the edge. And now right side down onto the wrong side of your pocket. We're just going to put that into place, and we're going to add some clips to hold it. Remember always to try and get your raw edges even, but if they're not real even, you can always trim off a little bit if necessary later on. Now I'm not able to clip there, so I'm just going to press that. If you have something that you can add there for a bit of weight, do so. Otherwise just give it a good press down and leave that to dry. Okay, so now that has dried, we can take those clips off. And now what we're going to do is we're going to be adding our tab. So what I like to do is I just like to snip in here and just bend that back like that. And now this tab has got to go behind the card pockets section, not behind the ID. So over on this side, so grabbing your pattern piece, just put that down on there and line up those raw edges and mark the snap place, the tab placement. Right, that. Just grab your glue, add some glue into the space. Like that. Grab your tab and press that there, just going to add a couple of clips to hold. Like that. Retrieve our zipper pocket and get rid of these clips. Now that that glue has had a chance to dry, and again, ignore the backing of my thing where I've goofed before. So now what we need to do is install our snap into here, and that will be like this. The male part, the part with the sticky out piece, that's what goes in here, and the female one will go into your tab. So we'll start with this one. Okay, so now we need to make sure we get the right die, or the right thingamajig, call it what you wish. I can get it out of here. And that's the female one. So we need to start with this one, the male one. Grab this piece. That in there. Grab this piece so that the male sticky out bit is going to be on the outside, the right side. Place that down on there. Like that. Now retrieve your tab. Still got that gluing, I'll leave those clips there. But we need to put that in there. And change this piece over. And now we want the button to be, I'll just get that. We want the button to be on the outside so it matches up with that. Like, just imagine they're glued together. That's going to like that. So that's the button side. That's going to go down there. And I always double check because I have done them back to front. And that is very annoying. Frustrating. And put that into place. Like so. So that will then go around and clip into there. Like that. Okay, so now that we have installed our snaps, and we need to take that off, and we're going to turn that over and we're going to glue those together. If you have a glue that only needs to go on one side, then just put it on one side, but I'm going to use this Welt, which requires glue on both sides. And it's really important that you do glue over here because you need this to act as one piece. If you don't glue, that's going to bulge out here in the middle rather than staying closed together. So this is an important step. Even if you don't like gluing, I don't recommend you skip the glue for this part. Otherwise you'll need to stitch down there to make them stay together. But this glue works very well to fasten it all together. Like that. Now I just need to let that get tacky. I'm just making sure I'm not glued that down anywhere. And when that's tacky, then I will stick those two pieces together. Okay, so now that that has had time to become tacky, I'm going to glue this down. So we want the tab and the button on this side with the zipper, and that over there. So make sure you're gluing them in the right way, or the right orientation, and press together. Now the main thing that I want here is I want this center section to be glued. So I'm going to add this ruler here and I'm going to stick a weight on there when I find something that's going to hold it down. This jar of tools will do the trick. And I'm just going to make sure that they're pressed together. It's pretty tacky, that stuff, so I'm pretty sure it's going to hold anyway. And I'm just going to let that dry, and then I'm going to do the final top stitching all the way around. But for now, I'm just going to let that dry. If you have problems with top stitching where the stitches are skipping, it's most likely that you haven't let the glue to dry. So if you have time, I do recommend when you do all over pieces like this, large areas, that you just leave it overnight to dry if you have the time to do so. So now that my wallet has dried, the layers have dried, I'm going to do the final top stitching. So we're just going to stitch all the way around the outer edge of the wallet using a 3mm 1/8 of an inch seam. Okay, so now that we have everything glued, we're going to stitch the wallet, and I'm going to stitch, well, it might help if I turn my sewing machine back on. Stitch length is 3.1, and of course that is up to you what stitch length you do, but that's the one I like to use for cork. And 1/8 of an inch, 3mm from the edge. And I'm done. Woohoo! There we have our wallet. And now all I need to do is do some edge coating and top coating to make those edges look more profesh. But there we have it. Little zipper pocket and a big slip pocket there and a big slip pocket there. Card slot, card slot, card slot, card slot, card slot, card slot, and an ID pocket. Woohoo! You can stick your notes down in there or receipts down in there or whatever you want to do. Makes a great men's wallet, or you can use some pretty fabrics, pretty cork or pretty vinyl, and make it into a lady's wallet. Either way. There we have it. Yes, that was quick and easy, wasn't it?